Of commerce is business after business. My name is Brian, for those who don't know me, and I'm the Vice President of the Chamber. Before I start, I guess just got to acknowledge that we are meeting on land that was, is, and always will be land of the first people. And while I pay my respects to elders past and present, I also pay my respects to elders of all communities that have walked this land before me. And I hope that their spirit of peace, love, and knowledge of kindness and land will abide in each one of us as we move together as friends and do business together. So welcome today. We'll look today at diverse views on the subject, diversity is good for business, brought to you as part of the Trade Up to a Better Future program with Cumberland City Council. Now, before I hand over to the next speaker, I must wish somebody here a really happy birthday. So, happy birthday, Emmanuel. Let's embarrass the guy. 3 cheers for Emmanuel. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. All right, see, that's just worked me out of an intro. Manny, you can come and take the mic.
I've been celebrating my birthday in secret for 20 years and he's exposed me to that. It's terrible. So can I start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Can I acknowledge Councillor Glenn Elmo from the Cumberland Council, and let me also acknowledge Laurie Ferguson, former MP of Veriwa, and also Aruna Chandrala of the South Asian Advisory Forum of the Labour Party, as well as Sanjay Deshwal from the Harris Park Business Forum. I would also like to acknowledge our sponsors today, Australian Disability Services, from Kenan Burkan, Gold Partner, RD Facilities Management, and also our partners, our media partners, Ozara Media. You will also see 90.5. So we didn't want to have a very dry business function. We like to have a good time as well. So you can see Alive 90.5. Thanks, Ansley, for it. So we are partnering with them and we hope to work closely with them in the future. And they will be interviewing some of the speakers, and I believe they are live from outside. We also have our accounting partner, Pacioli Services, and also Harry Walia, photography partner. Thanks, Harry, for helping us as always. And I would also like to thank all the speakers who have so generously given of their time. Professor Alfia, Professor Mai Insaidi, I think. Sorry if I misspelled your name, as well as Vidya Davapalan, and our panelists today, Suzanne Bambach, Carol Ferrone, Shamli Nagaska Seka, Julia Latouf, and Belinda Aliband. So the Greater Cumberland Chamber focuses on 3 LGAs, Stratfield, Cumberland, and Fairfield. Our 5 tenets are representation, knowledge sharing, socialization, business promotion, and cross-cultural synergies. As you know, nearly 98.4% of Australian businesses are small businesses with a turnover of less than 2 million. So what are the challenges that we as a business are going to face in the next 3 to 4 years? Cashless economy, AI, decentralized finance with blockchain at its backbone, and of course, online purchases. Last year, online purchases actually was larger than face-to-face. So if we have members here who have a corner store or a retail shop, what are we to expect? So these are all things that we as a chamber are going to be grappling with in the future. Cyber attacks are increasing, more sophisticated. The other day, as you know, with online purchases, my wife orders something, my daughter orders something, and I said, oh, your parcel couldn't be delivered, and I went and clicked on it, and I found that it was a scam, right? So scams are getting very, very sophisticated, and especially with AI, I think it's going to change our lives forever in ways that we cannot even imagine. We normally find that with AI, technology is often adopted by the big corporates, it cascades down to the medium-sized businesses, and then we as individuals sort of find out about it. Think about Amazon, right? 97, they started. When did they really get into central space? About 5 years ago. However, with ChatGPT, what has happened is AI is directly the face of every individual, right? Adoption of ChatGPT was so much faster than Facebook. They went to 100 million users, right? Now, about 3 weeks ago, people here who follow blockchain and cryptocurrencies, General Electric took 30 years to become a billion-dollar company. Now, there was what we call as a meme coin called dog with hat. It's just a picture of a cute dog with a cap. Nothing. There's no fundamental, there's no business behind it. It was started at 10 p.m. and by 10 a.m. the next morning, it had become a billion-dollar company. Now, why am I stating that? You had GE taking 30 years to become a billion-dollar business, whereas a meme coin with no fundamentals becoming a billion-dollar company overnight. With social media, the socialization, perceptions, emotions are becoming an everyday part of business, right? And becoming as important. Those days, businesses, it was all about very dry business and family. It was all divided. It's all getting combined, right? And as businesses, we need to really look at some of these trends and see how that is going to affect it. And the second reason that Dog with Hat became a billion-dollar company overnight is because of the ease of transferring finance. You would have seen on the trade floor those days, right? All these guys making signs. You don't have to. You can sit on your computer and you can make 100 transactions per day, right? Move money. You don't even feel and that's the reason that online purchases are increasing as well, because a click of a button, you're transacting. So these are some of the things that we as a chamber are grappling with and trying to disseminate information to our members. Now, for our next event, we want to have a very simple, you as a business entrepreneur. I'll tell you a little example. I had all my password, and I don't know, every company wants this password, and they say uppercase, lowercase, special. After some time, I'm lost, right? I had all these passwords in my password manager. So 2 weeks ago, I accessed my computer, and I got this message saying, hey, your password manager and all these passwords were in a data breach. So basically what that means is I have to change all my 100 passwords. So I'm sitting here and saying, what am I going to do? And I'm sure you are in a very similar situation. So next workshop, we're going to have a very simple workshop. You as an entrepreneur, what are the basic things? Let's forget about all these sophisticated cyber security stuff, right? What do you need to do? How do you handle your browser? When a browser asks about syncing on different equipments or devices, is that right? How do you manage your password? Can you keep it on your password manager? How do you manage these scam attacks? Simple things, workshop, that's the next event. One after that, we're actually working with the MP for Parramatta, Andrew Charlton. Now, a number of larger Fortune 100 companies have come into Parramatta. Now, we want to create an ecosystem where some of our smaller businesses can start dealing with them, right? Now, think about it. You have a Fortune 100 company who's been in Sydney. They've moved here. What are they going to do for flower arrangements? Are they going to order it from the city? What are they going to do if they want to have food for one of their events? So we are now wanting to connect our members to the Fortune 100 companies, and that will be in June as well. and we'll announce it. So we are going to get the procurement managers from some of these big boys, and they're going to come here and talk about what they want, and if we can provide those services, happy. You will create an ecosystem thereby, right? So I don't want to carry on. As you know, we keep our membership at a very low $50, lowest in New South Wales. If you want to join, I think you'll have QR codes. Please join us and enjoy the rest of the evening. Before that, today's event, Diversity in Business. So we are going to be discussing not just about gender inclusion, gender gap, but beyond. We want to talk about equality, CAL communities, women of color, migrant women, the challenges that they face, what are the successes, how do they, strategize, work-life balance, and a whole lot of things in the panel today. And the speakers will be talking to you about that as well. So I will leave that to the speakers. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Manny. So our next speaker is actually a bit of a born leader. When I went down to the urban activation, so I'm walking down the street like General Patton, getting stuff done, people moving, with precision. So, driven by his passion for learning how people interact with space and places, he brings to his role a wealth of knowledge on how local government and community do function and function together. So to give us today's council update, we have Christopher Manoski, Acting Manager, Place and Engagement, Cumberland City Council. Chris.
What a great photo. Amazing. Hi everyone. So before I start, I know you guys are used to seeing Helder up here and talking to the crowd and with his energetic feel. Helder is unfortunately a bit ill, but we wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he joins us very soon for our next chamber meeting and our next Business After 5. So, good evening everyone. A very warm welcome to everyone that's present here today for a great event that's hosted by Cumberland City Council, as well as our friends here at the Greater Cumberland Chamber of Commerce. For those who don't know me, my name is Chris Manoski, and I am the Acting Manager of Place and Engagement at Cumberland City Council. Before we go on, I do want to acknowledge a few people in the room. Firstly, I want to acknowledge Councillor Glenn Elmore from Cumberland City Council, Laurie Ferguson, former MP at Warriwa, Emmanuel, the President of the Greater Cumberland Chamber of Commerce, Brian Wall, obviously the VP and the man to know, and all the board members of the Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome our two guest keynote speakers. Vithya, co-founder of President of Brown Boss Babes, welcome. And Professor Alfia, the Pro Vice Chancellor of Engagement and Advancement at Western Sydney University, welcome. So we have a great panel tonight. It's very different seeing 5 people on a panel, but we think it's fantastic to hear from a diverse crew. I'd like to acknowledge and welcome Shamili, Susan, Carol, Belinda, and Julia. Where's Julia? I know Camille. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah? There you go. So these amazing women don't only represent diversity in culture, but they represent our diversity in their professions, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. Council has been actively working with the Chamber of Commerce and industry partners to explore different opportunities and introduce non-traditional roles to people of different genders. So a quick fact, did you know that construction continues to be one of the most male-dominated industries, with only 12% representing women in the trade and 2% in the sector. So this is a narrative that we are trying to rewrite as part of the program. A career in trade is not only well paid, but it's fulfilling, it's fun, it provides people with great skills, including but not limited to planning, outlook, coordination, budget and control of construction projects from start to finish. So without further ado, let me pass the microphone on to the great speakers, and I hope everyone enjoys the night tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Chris. Time to welcome some new members to the chamber. We've got a few certificates here. If they're not here, they're not here. Heiko Electrics. All right. Marker Studios. Marker Studios. Two down, third time lucky. Fredder's Private Limited. Okay? You know what? I'm just going to read them off here. MC Group. Digital Marketing Tribe. Crystal Radiology Group. Oh, shucks. Digital Marketing Tribe, basically. All right, where was I? Crystal Radiology Group, Path Legal. Lawyers aren't in the house. Please. Path Legal. Yeah, of course. And Sastra. All right, let's have a round of applause for all our new members. Their certificates will not be mailed to them, but they'll be here to pick up when they come next time. What have we got next? Members Spotlight. All right, time to get to know some of our members. So we've got, as you know, the chamber it's not just all about business, it's also about community. And that's a nice thing with small businesses, wherever they are. They give a lot, in fact, often more than they get. So we've got Sohas Charity. We have Moses here with us. Moses, come over. Okay, I'm going to attempt to play this video. Hopefully it plays. So Moses has done tremendous work with SOHAS, especially during the pandemic. I personally know of so many students and refugees who were stranded, who Moses managed to help through his network. Parramatta Council recognized him as on Australia Day with honors as the best community group. So Moses, I know all your good work is up on screen, but we'd love to hear from you.
Hello everyone. My name is Moses Vedamuthu. I'm founder of Support Organization for Homeless and Asylum Seekers. We are running almost 6 years. We as a community stand with our less fortunate and needy. We support community elders, homeless people, domestic violence victims, single mothers, refugees and international students also who are not get any benefit from the government. We supporting them every week. We give free food and groceries to the needy. The COVID times, everybody knows, very hard. We deliver 80 to 120 families every week. Then after the flood,
We gave 1,250 food boxes to the Lismore and Penrith areas, the flood affected families. Also, the newcomers, new migrants, asylum seekers, we make resume for them because we upgrade our services to the community. We make resume. Our experts give training how to attend the interviews. Last 4 months is our organization's a big achievement. We put 38 people in the job. That's really is changing their life. Community transformation. Also, we support domestic violence victims, single mothers. We have a psychologist and a psychiatrist doctors. We send their homes, give counseling. They slowly get back to the community now. Last December, our organization put 30 students to get free diploma courses in a signature training college at Parramatta. 30 students. The fees are nearly $8,000 to $10,000, but 30 students got a free diploma courses in the colleges. So really, thank you for whoever supports, mainly our President Emmanuel and Brian. Really, thank you so much for your support. Our sponsors, Tungabi Seven Hills Lions Club, and also International Human Rights Team, they're supporting us. If you guys join our team or support our organization, please contact us. We have a Sogas Charity Facebook page, website. If you need any details, I'm happy to share our stories more. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you again.
Thank you, Moses. You've seen one of the pictures that was played up there. Moses looking really pleased with himself, standing next to the boot of a car full of provisions. He was looking pleased with himself because it was really damn hard to get that amount of provision needed for that day. And the guy managed to do it. The other day we were at a function together and Moses stood up and said, I run Sohas with 10% of my income going there. And I had to stand up and say, that's bullshit. Because you spend a lot more than that 10% and I've seen it. So let's have a round of applause for Moses. Next, we have a representative from Lifeline here. We've got Jess with us. Lifeline, I need no introduction because they just do awesome work. I know the number of times I've called on people like Glenn Costa out in MacArthur to come and give us a hand because businesses suffered through dark days. And it's not just... We're all business people, most of us in this room. And we know that the suffering is not just economical. It takes a toll on our mental health, it takes a toll on our families and our close circles around us. And that's when we know who we're going to call, not Ghostbusters, but Lifeline.
Thank you so much for having me today. My name's Jess and I'm from Lifeline in MacArthur in Western Sydney. So we've got a couple of slides up here which I'm going to talk to. A little bit boring, but not as great as the video from prior. So thank you so much for all your amazing work in the community. So at Lifeline and Lifeline MacArthur in Western Sydney, so we exist so no person in Australia has to face the darkest moments alone. And we do that on our 13 11 14 crisis line. We also do that by text, web chat and our 1-3 Yarn First Nations line as well, which is largely funded by our op shops. So you would have seen Lifeline retail stores here and there. We have our most recent one opened in Castle Hill late last year. So speaking of funding our crisis supporters, that leads me to our gala dinner. over here. So we, on the 22nd of June, have our 007 themed gala dinner, which is hosted at the Warwick Hotel, in Warwick Farm. We have sponsorship opportunities and the opportunity to purchase a table, and it's a really fun night. I went to last year's one, and lots of fun, lots of drinks, lots of activities, and lots of opportunities to buy some things at auction. The best part about the new one, though, this year's one, is the opportunity to have a photo with an Aston Martin and to dress up in your 007 themed garb. So further fundraising opportunities that we have is our push-up challenge. So that's being launched in April, and we ask if you are able to create a team, gain sponsorship, and to raise money for Lifeline. And you can do so for Lifeline Macarthur and Western Sydney individually as well. What we do is we ask teams to do 3,249 push-ups during the month of June. Now that sounds like a lot, and I hear you balk, but the number has a great amount of significance. And you'll balk more at this, but in 2022, 3,249 people took their own lives. And that's why we picked that number. So I know it's a lot. You can also aim for a 50% target, which is probably a little bit more achievable, but it's by the team. So hopefully you can split that amongst the team and use that to gain sponsorship and raise some money. And that keeps our crisis support line open. Finally, training on our last slide here. We offer a lot of mental health, suicide prevention and domestic and family violence prevention training. All happening locally, Fairfield down south. Also we offer it in Parramatta, we offer it in Blacktown and so forth. I have some opportunities that are coming up, including our domestic and family violence prevention training, which is happening in Fairfield early next month. We also have our mental health first aid for the suicidal person training coming up in Horsley Park as well. So I have flyers and information available over at the table. I'm over there, come see me, including about our gala as well. In terms of suicide prevention, we also run a suicide prevention network. We actually run 3 of them, and we participated in another. So we have a network in Western Sydney which would encompass all of you, which includes the Hills and the Hawkesbury districts. We meet every second month online, and if you work in or you know someone who works in the mental health field, or is interested in helping to prevent suicide in the community, please do come see me, because we would like people to join our network and to grow that, expand that. And that includes schools, that includes other businesses that support people in mental health, anyone who could have any sort of mental health or suicidality disclosed to them as part of what they do. Finally, I want to talk about our outreach program, and what we do is we actually offer an outreach service. So we go along to mental health events, provide information and on-site crisis support as well for any mental health event, forum or anything that's happening sort of locally that we can contribute to and make a positive difference as well. So I really am so grateful for your time. I didn't want to take too much of it. And just remember, every sort of sponsorship opportunity, every table we sell for our gala helps to contribute to us preventing those 3,249 people from taking their lives. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you later in the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, Jess. You guys are saints, really. Okay, our next speaker and one of our keynote speakers, her brief introduction reads longer than my entire biodata. But I've got to do this. So, Alfia Posamai Inasidi is the Pro Vice Chancellor Engagement and Advancement Chair of the Academic Senate, Professor of Sociology and President of the Australian Sociological Association. She has worked as an Associate Pro Vice Chancellor, Director of Sydney City Campus, and was responsible for the co-creation of the Master of Research. Now, I've got to read this because I'll stuff up otherwise. Okay. Alfia is the Springer co-editor for the series Religion, Spirituality and Health, a Social Scientific Approach, and a 2019 work, The Digital Social Religion and Belief, whose chapter on the interaction of civil society and religion through the whole marriage equality debate I have just put on my must-read list. So, without further ado, Alfia.
We need to change the picture. I have a black and white picture which is much more true to the age that I am right now. So thank you very much for the invitation to be part of such an important discussion. I'm really enjoying being in this room with all of you. I too want to acknowledge that we are on the unceded lands of the Darug people of the Darug Nation, a place that I am actually very fortunate enough to live, work, and contribute back to communities. So I feel very honored to be here. So I've been asked by Emmanuel, so thank you again, Emmanuel, for the invitation to come and give a talk about my experience, but also looking at this really important topic of gender equity, inclusion, diversity, and how that can transform business. So whilst I do that, I'm going to do that with two hats. You got a little bit of a sense of the work that I do by that very kind introduction. Thank you, Brian. One being a sociologist, and the other being the Provost Chancellor of Engagement and Advancement at Western Sydney University. Now, a lot of people don't understand what a sociologist is. They think I'm a psychologist. Yep, they think I'm a psychologist as opposed to a sociologist. I do have a background in psychology, but my work is dedicated to understanding how our lives are impacted on the structures of our society. So not dictated. The structures of society aren't going to dictate, but they are going to very much influence the chances that we have in our life. And then my role as a Provost Chancellor, I really am responsible for that strategic lens that the university has on community engagement strategies, so that any type of frameworks we develop with community, organizations, local government, and industry are purposeful, value-led, but very much importantly, reciprocal in benefit. You know, that we co-identify issues, that we work together on the types of solutions, that it's not a university coming in and saying, here's your problem, and this is how we're going to fix it. So when I travel across this region, which I hold very dear to my heart, I see it as a rich tapestry of cultures and communities. But interestingly, when I did come to this region about 20 years ago, over 20 years ago now, from the United States, as an outsider working in Sydney but living in Western Sydney, I noticed a type of broad brushstroking of Western Sydney region, not recognizing its strength, its diversity, often seeing it almost as an othering type of activity. So it's sort of out to the west, you know, and not really getting beyond that, and not really seeing the powerhouse of a region that it actually is. But I think Sydney is catching up, and I think Sydney is now recognizing, or broader New South Wales and broader Australia, you know, having Western Sydney be the third largest economy in all of Australia is a pretty significant thing. Recognizing the skills strength, we are the most skilled region. We're more skilled than Greater Sydney. Recognizing that parts of Western Sydney are also beginning to outstrip Greater Sydney education-wise as well. I mean, these are really exciting statistics that we're seeing emerge throughout the region. It's an amazing story to tell, but we really have to be careful in how we tell that story, because we can't broad brushstroke out the challenges that parts of the region very much still face. And we need to, as we do this, we need to look at that question of gender equity. So yes, we are the most diverse in Australia. We house the most skilled people, but we've not reached that same level of income attainment as broader Sydney has. We have a higher representation of low-income households, and we also have the highest number of women providing unpaid care than the rest of Sydney. And driving here, I mean, we all live in Western Sydney. I live in Western. Driving from one point of Western Sydney to another, it's not always a tyranny of distance. I was coming from our Parramatta campus, which is like 7 kilometers away, not even. Do you know how long it took me to get here? It took me, a half an hour to get here. The infrastructure, that is also an issue that very much impacts on many of us, and particularly if we're speaking about that issue of being inclusive, people who have caring needs, so that's caring needs for children, caring needs for elderly, caring needs for maybe community members, that type of tyranny of distance can actually become untenable. They can't pick up opportunity costs because of things like that. So I just want to take a little bit of a closer look at this region that we live in, and I think COVID laid bare for us a lot of realities, but what I would concentrate on is that we recognize that women were not, during this time, participating as much in the workforce as men were within this region. And funnily enough, when you look at the statistics, you can see that more women are graduating from university than men. So what's happening? As a sociologist, I would look at this in several ways. Like I'd sort of dive into it, and I'd sort of go into assumptions about gendered labor. And I know our next talk is going to speak about this idea or the reality of what does it mean as a woman to work in a really male-dominated space. I would look at, our notions of what does it mean to, gendered labor. What's a woman's career? What's a man's career? If I say midwife, what comes into your mind? Most likely a woman. If I say truck driver, what do you think? If I say CEO, what do you think? Right? So we have these gendered ideas. So this impact very much that these gendered notions, as well as gendered notions around who's the primary carer, who has to be the one that's at home, very much is going to, those assumptions very much impact on women's life biographies. And they're shaped by, notions within society. They're not natural, and you can see how they change over time, and you can see how they change across place as well, which shows you how they're not natural. So those norms very much steer young girls and boys down different directions at this young age. And I'm not going to take too much time, but I just want to show you this through this fantastic study that I read about kids in preschool. So little kids in preschool, they have that really great structured day, they're there at story time. And they read a story, typical story, and it's, boys are doing this, girls are doing this. It's more that sort of fairy tale type of story. Everybody was fine, everybody went out to play, everybody came back in. We're going to do story time again. Kids are like, fantastic. They reversed the gender roles. They made the little girls do the boy things, and they reversed it. Nobody was fine. The little kids were not fine. These are like 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds little girls saying, I don't want to do that. That's a boy thing. Little boys saying, I don't want to do that. That's a girl thing. I'm not going to do that. So already at that age, we already have these. So it's what we do in family. It's what they see on television. It's education. It's already at that young age. And so then when we sit back and we question why women are so underrepresented in certain areas, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, where, last time I checked, there were just 28% of the workforce, women representing those STEM fields. It very much has to do with these types of assumptions. What I want to just finish off with is just showing you when we speak about gender equality, it's really about economic intelligence. Because if we transform our world into a space of true gender equality, where we get rid of these ideas of what is a man's job, what is a woman's job, what about equal pay, about equal opportunity, we actually make a significant difference to the economy and to our businesses. On International Women's Day, Western Sydney University, through our Centre for Western Sydney, we released a report about this untapped potential of women, the women of Western Sydney. So it was very much about the women of this region. And what we saw was that women, geography was very much dictating what our life chances were, what our life opportunities were, how that was going to impact on education, but income levels. And we were seeing great disparity across the region. We saw that it was further compounded for Indigenous women and women from migrant and refugee backgrounds. We found that there were fewer women in Western Sydney in paid work compared to the rest of Sydney. We found that if we were to close the 11 percentage point gap in labour force participation for Western Sydney women, we would see more than 80,000 in the region get jobs. We would see that we would contribute $34.6 billion to the New South Wales economy, and that we would add an average of $90,000 a year into the pockets of the women of Western Sydney. So when it comes to unlocking women's workforce potential, it is about maximizing the talents of 50% of the population, but it's also transcending a conversation around social justice and equity. It's really about economic intelligence. So I will leave it there. Thank you.
Excellent. And as people here know, we run a bit of a green chamber. So, Emmanuel, can you grab that? Lovely, and we'd like to present this to you as a token of our appreciation. What have we got next? So, our next speaker, Brown Boss Babes, was formed in a Western Sydney drawing room, I've been told, to create a connected space for South Asian and brown women here in Australia, following some interesting personal experiences of its co-founder. But I'm not going to go further into the story because she's here herself to speak to us. So let's welcome to the stage the co-founder of Brown Boss Babes, Vidya Devala.
So as you can see, I have a new accessory. I know everyone's going to ask me the question, so I fell down the stairs while running after my son. So that's that. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land that we are on here today, paying my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So thank you for the intro. Thank you, the guys, for asking me to speak. It's been a long time since I've shared this story, so I'm excited. So we'll move along. Sorry, clickers tend to not like... Oh yeah, clickers don't tend to like me. I realised this last week. So as you can see here, I'm starting with we can do it all sort of thing. I'm just going to move this slightly so I can see what I'm speaking to. So as you can see here, there's an array of images. Me as a mum, me in my profession, which I'll tell you about, me as a businesswoman as well. And literally, we can do it all. So as you can see, I put up the top the most important things to me: mum, wife, family member, and sister as well. I'm also a twin, shout out to my sister. I'm also the general manager and a senior forensic fire investigator, which I will dabble into a little bit as well as the co-founder and president of Brown Boss Babes, multiple business owner and mental health advocate very recently. That was another story for another time. So into fire investigation. So I work in a very male-dominated industry. I'm also Sri Lankan Tamil, and my parents, as Sri Lankan Tamils, said to me, you need to be a doctor or an engineer or something to be successful. I didn't want to do that. My social life was a bit more important to me at the time when I was making these decisions. So I enrolled at a forensic science course at UTS. I'm lucky enough to sit on their Young Alumni Committee now. And I did a subject called Fire and Explosions, and we were literally pulling apart an IED, which is an improvised explosive device. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And basically, I just emailed my now employer going, can I work for you for free to see if this is something I'm interested in? And it just worked out, everything kind of aligned from there. But the issue I had was my parents and other family members and even friends of mine were like, are you going to get paid well? Is it safe for a female to do it? What is everyone going to say? So occasionally I do have to wear high vis, and obviously everyone attributes high vis to tradies. And I love tradies. They make a lot of money now. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, when you're trying to get stuff done to your house, they make a lot of money and they charge a lot of money. So basically what happened was it worked out really well. I've done up to almost 600 cases in my lifetime, coming up to my 10-year anniversary. But what I told my parents was, can I just enjoy this, please? This was something I was passionate about, and I didn't let anyone say no to me at that point. But I know that there was a lot of people out there when they wanted to follow their dreams that, they didn't have that support. I was fortunate enough that I was so determined that I didn't let anyone say no to me, and I just went with it, and I'm lucky to be in this position I am in today. I'm also now the general manager, I have been for the last 2 years, and about to buy into the business I work for, which is really exciting. On top of that, being a female in this industry is quite painful. You have to prove your worth. You have to prove that, you can roll around and, you can see there I go to mine sites as well. You have to prove that you know how the big machines run. You have to prove that you know how a washing machine operates, a refrigerator, and all of that stuff. But when I rock up on site, they see this girl and they're like, how do you do what you do? How? And then I'm really going, in my head, they're asking me, you're a female, how are you qualified to do this? And then I eventually will have to explain to them or go through my CV with them going, well, I'm a forensic scientist by trade, and if I don't understand something, I put everything in my power to learn it. They say as fire investigators, we have to understand everything, and the moment we know everything is the day we retire. I can tell you for sure there's a lot of guys that have reached retirement age and they're still working because they're so passionate about the job that we do. On top of that, I do own multiple businesses, one with my lovely husband at the front, the Flower Tea Company, which we launched when I was really pregnant, as a little project for us to do together, which was fun. I also own an events company that's won multiple business awards, and then I have 2 new ventures coming up within the AI space and the education space. So the interesting thing was for me, just got to see. Oh, here we go. I've kind of already spoken about that. Just going to move along. Okay, perfect. So Brown Boss Babes. Why was it created? Purely because I didn't get that support I wanted when I started my businesses, when I got into the forensic field. I also had no financial experience. I had no understanding of money. I literally was I had very much a lot of bond moments. During my understanding of what it was to understand what a business was, how to run a business plans, all that stuff. I had no idea, and I used the internet to my knowledge, the internet for my understanding and learning, and somehow I proved to have successful businesses. Brown Boss Babes exists, so there's a community that will help the women, especially South Asian women, to feel that sense of connection, belonging, as well as to connect with other business owners, hence the name Boss in the name. On top of that, we found that I honestly did find when I went to a lot of women in business events, I was typically the only woman of colour or someone of ethnic descent. I was in a room of Australian people. I didn't see any women of colour, so they didn't understand the cultural aspect of me knowing my parents weren't supportive. They were like, but why? And I didn't really know the answer. I'm like, oh, they wanted me to do something else that was more successful. In saying that, that is why BBB was created in the living room in Lidcombe of my now sister-in-law, who's also my co-founder and vice president, Suki. And the reason why we decided to create it was to provide that space where women feel connected, have that level of understanding, and they can reach out to each other. Because as an adult, it's really hard to make friends. Once you finish uni and outside of work, it's really hard to make friends. So we're giving that opportunity, especially to those that are coming in from overseas, giving that opportunity to make friends, connect, build their network here so they've got that local cheer squad, because that is always really important. So now going through the actual, what I think women should be able to do. We can do it all. We can break the stereotypes. I'm literally a walking definition of breaking stereotypes with all my tattoos and stuff. As much as my parents love me, they don't like the fact I've got almost a sleeve on me. On top of that, you know, I am a mum now. I've got a 16-month-old, which is why I've done my leg. At the same time, I'm also a leader. I manage a nationwide team of 10 people, and then on top of that, we maintain international relationships with fire investigators across the world. We do occasionally have to go out on scene in different countries as well, which is always exciting. So in order for me to be successful, I don't really need to do much. I just need to do the work. Just because I'm a woman does not mean I can't do it or I'm enabled by some sort of thing. And on top of that, like, I think we're very female heavy at Fire Forensics. That's the company I work for. Very female heavy. My managing director is female. My operations manager is female. Most of our fire investigators are actually male, and they're all above the age of 40. They're ex-fire service or they're ex-forensic services UK. They come to work for us because they want to keep working and they want to keep their brains functioning, because it's one of those jobs that your mind is constantly working. For me, I will probably keep working. I love the job that I do. I'm thankful for it. In addition to that, I think being a woman and a fire investigator, it's made me a lot stronger as a person, and standing up in court and having to testify against a guy who's been in the fire service for 60 plus years. I've been in it for 10 years, but normally when you're testifying in court, experience comes down and it's literally what's written on your CV or your, basically your background. For me, I always have to say, I'm so, like, you know, in comparison to these guys, I'm really young. But then when I start speaking about the actual fire evidence and physical evidence that I'm seeing on scene, they can understand, oh, she's actually got a brain in there. She's not just something pretty to look at, which is always what happens to me. I'm sure there's a lot of women in the room that experience that same thing. What I would like to see changing, I want to see more support for women leaders. There has been a surge with the release of the gender pay gap data, that there aren't a lot of females representation, as well as in, I think, the Forbes top 30 in Australia released their numbers, and it's of board directors, and there's not a lot of women on there. I think it was like, don't quote me on this, but I think it was under 30%. And that's really a shame to see. And a lot of the men on there were all stereotypical white males. We need to see more people of colour as well as women of colour within these boards, because women have a wealth of experience and knowledge and the ability to see things in different perspectives. And women in all roles. There's a huge surge of women starting to get into trades with all the funding that's coming in and the publicising of, you know, how much they earn and the changing of how people see tradies today, which is, I think, amazing. And high-vis looks good on everyone, not just men. The main thing that I've noticed being the co-founder of a women's empowerment group is the imposter syndrome. A lot of women think that they're not entitled to something that they've probably worked so long to get in comparison to their male counterparts, which is quite sad. They don't have that confidence that a stereotypical male would have in the same position. On top of that, when they find out how much the difference is and they get paid all their skills, they're like, oh, but I'm not qualified do the next thing, get qualified, get that support, reach out. I always tell people, reach out to someone who's your senior and ask for them to mentor you or guide you or provide you with assistance to get you where you need to be. Asking for help is the biggest thing that's going to get you somewhere else. I did it and it worked out for me really well. I've been rewarded handsomely, which is nice, but not a lot of women have that determination. So I like to tell women, focus on getting yourself further and ahead and use the resources that are literally within your phone to reach out and get that support that you need. If you ask me any questions, please don't ask me about how to set fire to something and get away with it for insurance purposes. That's the main question I get all the time, but thank you for your time, and if there's anything I can do to help with any of your endeavours or anything, please reach out.
Thanks for that. Here we go. Got to keep tradition alive. So there's your plant. Hopefully it survives and can give us. Well, thanks for that to both our keynote speakers. Strangely enough, this whole gender equality thing was a conversation that happened at home when I was very, very tiny. Because I was brought up by literally in the corner of a boardroom with a few toys by a mom who was vice president of one of the largest television networks in Asia, in fact, one of the largest in the world. So, and the number of women young women who she mentored into the room after that. And I'm sure Emmanuel will say the same, because I remember your mom putting up with us at our worst, our young teens. And she was a lovely lady, always found opportunity to make sure that everyone was included around that table. So on that happy note, let's have a little break. There's refreshments outside, and I'm sure Ainsley has some decent music going, and we'll come back after about 20 minutes and continue with